Hi, how are
It's
you?
time. Oh, hi, how are you? But hello, welcome to DangIT Prodcast episode 373. My name is Justin.
Mark.
Thanks for tuning in. We have a couple of updates here and there, but as you guys know, it's kind of pretty much just kind of a general conversation on how everyone's been doing so far. I have some bit of like news to bring in here, and it's not what we were talking about, Mark. It's actually something completely aside that happened earlier today. So it's been a while, but I've been trying to get myself back into the swing of actually, playing tennis with the actual swinging of the tennis racket. And because I've kind of been dipping out of that because like my workout schedule has been kind of out of a funk. So I've been trying to like get back into it again.
Did you break
And
something?
usually I like to go to my like one of my old schools to like practice on the courts. But I guess I missed the memo on this. Um, it's not like torn down or anything like that. It's just that like they must be doing some like maintenance on the cords because like it looks like someone just like brought like an entire vehicle in and just like made markings all over the place. So I
Jesus.
guess I won't be going there for a little bit, but I have a backup like area, which is like a public like tennis court area. I usually don't go there because there's usually the courts are filled, but not this time. So I go over there. I go to the farthest like non like no one surrounding it tennis court and just start practicing some service. Usually like when I go here, I'm just doing things like on my own. There's a wall like somewhere nearby so I can like rally against that if I want to. This guy though walks up and it's not like one of those like weird encounters. It was just a guy who with the racket in hand just asked if he could return some serves with me. It's a pretty like uncommon like occurrence with me, but I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And as much as like to my anticipation, he was kind of like someone who would reach out and provide some feedback as far as like service stuff. So it was kind of ended up being like an hour of me getting like some one-on-one coaching, which was actually kind of a pleasure to just kind of have. I don't really talk about it a lot, but when I whenever I like do like tennis stuff, it's always been kind of like outside of the team. It's always been on my own. I've been like hypo analyzing like videos and stuff like that back in the day. And when I get out to the court, I really can only be able to like just get a feel for like what I'm doing and try to analyze that. So having someone who could tell me the things I'm doing and see if I can tweak things here and there was definitely like a nice change of pace, and I think I improved because of it. So I think if I do that a little bit more, I might find myself into like a small like tennis community at that point if I go there more frequently. But yeah, that was my little like instant like news right right off the stove. But I'm sorry,
I
Mark.
was
How are you
honestly,
doing?
I
What have
was
you been up
honestly
to?
expecting something much worse.
You could have been so much worse. Yeah, no, he was really
Ah,
chill.
yeah, I'm doing fine. No, I've run out to roll prescription, so I gotta get that refilled. So my usual hyper focus that I have is not with me right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right now is just me with no medication for focuses.
Oh yeah. So how does that kind of like become like a part of you, I guess, or how does that like alter how you go about things during the day to day?
At most, I would just say it makes it. I would just say mostly it helps me just focus on other things outside
Hmm.
outside of my OCD. But
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I'm doing all right now.
Okay, that's good. We
For now,
won't
at
you
least.
won't be like having that for like without it for a while, right? It'll be something you'll just refill relatively soon.
Hopefully, I gotta get it
Hopefully.
called in. I gotta get it called in by my doctor because it's narcotic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thanks a lot, college kids.
Well, actually that
Y'all love
is this could be an interesting
they
scene.
they abused Adderall, so they made it a controlled substance.
fair, right?
Oh, I'm like, shit.
Well, as far as I understand, like college is not really in session at this time. Um, I know that like with my school, like starts like probably next month or something like that. But I've just kind of kept that in like in my head. But I know that different schools it just varies. But
Correct.
yeah. But there was something I wanted to bring up. Oh yeah. So we were just talking about this. This is the actual thing, Mark. Um, I was in regards to the podcast as well. I was thinking about like how it all started, right? Like obviously, it started with myself and Gabe. We wanted to find a way to communicate with each other consistently, even though like our main like main person that we would like find ourselves like gravitating towards, and as a result, come up with conversation. But since he Dennis moved out of state, Gabe and I just found like a means to kind of stay connected through podcasting. It's just something like as a side thing that I do for YouTube. And as you probably could tell, like things have changed dramatically. Um, most of the time nowadays, it's been myself and you on the other side of the Discord call, and
Correct.
and a little bit earlier than that, we also had like Christoph, we had Naya here and there, sometimes Sephi. But these past couple weeks hasn't been that case, and it could be because of the fact that we're all kind of just trying to focus on doing our own thing, like as far as establish a social media presence to see like how we all fare in that space like on our own. Um, and I've noticed that I personally don't have like an issue kind of just doing it like usually like consistently, but for the other guys, I'm not sure where they're at, and I think that's why Anaya initially brought up the need for like a meeting for this month as well. So I'm thinking that I'll address what's going on with the podcast and the lack of staff showing up specifically for this like show and see what happens there. And the reason oh, I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
I was like, did y'all learn nothing from Planet of the Apes?
Planet of the Apes.
Apes together strong.
Apes together strong.
Tried to go
But apes
separate.
have different schedules. And I think that's the problem. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where like I've always kind of known it, but never really like put an emphasis on it. But the fact is that like with the podcast and everything I do, like that they're involved with as well, has always been something voluntary, which means that like if they need to do something that takes their priority, they can just do that and not have to be like what's the word? I guess obligated to jump in. So I think that's what we're seeing like right now. Everyone's just kind of busy, kind of focusing on them. So even though the front door is open, they got something like occupied. So I think that's the issue that we're coming across, and I wouldn't be too bothered by that. But now, it's not them. It's just more over what like I've been doing these past couple of streams on Twitch. I've been just having like open like conversations almost like in the podcast layout to a point where like the podcast doesn't seem as special anymore versus just me having open conversations like throughout streams. So I'm thinking like is there a need for podcasting? Like I mean maybe on YouTube, but like
it is tradition.
it is yeah, but the thing is that like what holds it down is that it's tradition. So unless I want to like completely cut that tree down, like I would just be doing it almost just because it is the tradition. But like does it make it any different from like those streams over there? The only real difference is that I'm like actually having a conversation with someone like right now, because that's the big thing about podcasting, except for the fact there was some solo streams here and there, and that happens. But yeah, I just don't know otherwise like how strong can that go for the podcast, because I like what the podcasts are, and that's just to talk to friends. But if there's no friends to really talk to, granted there's you, Mark, of course, but it's kind of feels empty like without like a secondary person like physically in the space. Granted, pandemic, I get it, but it does feel a little bit like is it any different from me just doing the usual like talks on Twitch when it's like gaming orientated, like on that side? Because there's different. Those two are two separate things still. Although now I'm doing it on Twitch, so the line's starting to
Because
become like
only
harder to
because of
see.
YouTube's live system sucks.
So I don't know. I think that um if it's if it's if it's a situation where like I cannot like rely on like them to like appear, and like I kind of get tired of just like having like this as like the podcast dynamic, then we should probably just try to mend it with or combine it, merge it into all the other like Twitch stuff that I do. So we might see like a dramatic change to that, which DangIT Podcast dissolves and merges elsewhere. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking about right now.
Reactions and podcasts are part of the original thing, man. It's all we got left.
I mean, yeah, react. That's oh my god, dude. The reactions are like it's a hot topic, but it's also like it's in the freezer though. Because
While you're
reactions,
working on the
you
backlog.
one could say it is like part of the original content, but for me it kind of isn't. It's still relatively like it was like one of the newer things that we did. I mean, the old things were like skits and vlogs, and then the podcast as well. So podcasts are definitely like have seniority there. We stopped skits, we stopped vlogs. So I mean, there's also Dang It Plays, which hasn't like ceased. It's just been on hold until like I figure myself out a little bit more. So
Should I finish
it's
that
weird.
backlog?
That backlog is looking well. It's not as stacked, but like what I really could have done. I really could have just like done recordings of me just playing through games, but I don't know. Like it's one thing for me to like, and maybe I'm not at that stage where like I have to play everything on stream because that's just how I function nowadays. Now I still have like the want to just play things like on my own in a private time versus playing games just like on stream, because I do believe that there is a performance to it, like when it comes to streams, where you're pretty much like signed up to like play at your like at your least um or not your best when you're streaming, because there is the desire to connect with people, which does take your attention. So I mean, you could like focus all your efforts like onto the game, but then you lose your connection to the chat, which I'm trying to like make sure that I have a little bit of both here and there. So I think, I mean, that's like more of a personal thing, and it might change like over time depending on like I guess the level of engagement, because like right now we don't really get that much on Twitch, but it's a slow like growing thing. So I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be interesting to say or to even see like things where it's like, when I if I ever start to, because actually the tennis thing kind of like that happened today kind of really put things into perspective about like playing something to improve, even if you don't want to like reach like a higher echelon level of things. You just want to get better to get better. But let's say like I get more invested into fighting games, for example, or even like first person shooters, third person shooters, whatever. Of course that will require that level of like concentration, and so I will have to be focused on like those types of matches and rounds. So I think that's going to be eventuality that like skills and attentiveness to the chat will intersect, and I'll figure myself out when I get there. And I think that's the best course of action that I should take at this time. But yeah, just do what I do is ultimately what I decided on.
It started pouring down rain.
Is it raining for you right now?
Oh yeah, just literally just.
It's not raining over here. It does look like it could. Like we got like an overcast, like maybe. Yeah, we had an overcast like over an hour ago, and it doesn't seem like it stopped. So, like, ooh, it might start raining a little bit.
Yeah, we got some rain, we got some thunder I just heard, and my dog is sleeping like a little donut ball between my legs.
Do your dogs, well, I guess specifically Cody, how does he respond to rain and thunder? Specifically thunder and lightning.
He's better with thunder than Dumplin was.
Oh, really?
But Dumplin was terrified of thunder.
Understandable.
Cody,
Yeah.
it makes Cody like, huh? What was that? He's not like, no. I mean, but Dumplin was like, no.
Yeah. I guess it just like depends. What about fireworks?
That don't really seem to bother him.
Interesting. Okay. It's like one of those things that like seems like it's a unanimous thing where it's like all dogs will freak out. I guess not.
If you break out the Swiffer sweeper, that's where he's like, ah!
This I don't know. That's a weird thing. Like I get vacuums because they're loud, but like a broom, a Swiffer sweeper,
Wait, he didn't like the broom.
it's so imposing. Look at it. Look at those brittles. I mean, does he bark at it when you start like the action?
Yeah.
And like, what if you just have it in your hand? Does he like?
He's cautious.
He's cautious about it. He's like, "What are you finna do?"
I know. He's like, "Why are you breaking that out? You know I don't like it. What are you doing with that?"
What are you doing, human? Looks like you finna do something.
Yeah, my girlfriend goes like with the Swiffer sweeper to sweep the bathroom floor. And next thing you know, you see him. He's like, "Arr."
It's like, hey,
I'm
get
just
that
like,
out of here!
You goofy boy.
Oh my god, it's so weird, but yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say something about that. Nah, that's probably because I've been watching a lot of dog videos. I'm like, I always want to like see like an actual person's like perspective of it, like someone I know, because at some point that's gonna happen. I'm gonna get a dog, and my usual day to day, I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
You break out the vacuum.
We don't actually use the vacuum anymore. We just use the Swiffer sweeper, so you just gotta watch out. We got like laminate floors, so we use like a Swiffer sweeper plus some kind of spray as well, just to clean it up too. So it's one of those things where I would love to have a dog that just isn't like reactive and just stays on the couch while I do it.
Oh no, he didn't stay on the couch. He gets onto the ground and barks at it.
Oh,
He goes after it.
that's it's a problem. But
Here's
you
the
know
thing,
what?
he goes after it from a distance.
I'm just
He don't get to
I'm spacing
like.
you out.
She'll be in the bathroom sweeping the floor, and he'll be at the door entrance to the bathroom, like the doorway. He's like, "Brrr."
Maybe he thinks it's a threat to her. He's like, hey,
He's like, "Let go of that. It's dangerous.
release her.
Release her.
Take me."
Take me instead."
Dogs
Like
are
Cosmo,
so
just
interesting.
spread your arms out. King Cosmo.
Wait, did you say Cosma?
It's like fucking Cosmo when he said like, he put his arms out like, "Take me."
Oh yeah. Funny enough, I actually like watched like a clip of that again on YouTube where it's like, Cosma, run.
She's like, "Did you just let yourself get captured?" He's just like, "Of course not."
Joyo.
He's like, "Of course I didn't."
Cosma, I'll get you out of here. I'd rather you not.
And he's like, "I'd rather you not."
Y'all don't understand or appreciate what Sylvia sounded to say.
I was dying when I first saw that. Like every single sniff, I was just losing it.
It was so gross.
He's like, Sylvia, son.
Why do I feel something poking out my butt? Because there is.
No.
I know that there's gonna be a new season, and I'm looking forward
I'm so
to it.
happy about that. I'm so happy about that. There being a new season of Konosuba.
They ought to. Honestly, I kind of want to just like read up on the source material too. But
Oh, the light novel.
yeah, I think it's only light novels, so you have to look at places like I guess Bookwalker. We're not sponsored, but one of these days.
Bookwalker.
One of these days.
Bookwalker has become a big thing now.
Yeah. I just kind of like any accessibility of those types of source materials. I think that just having like the content just so you can like get into that experience is a really neat thing. And I think just having it all digital like makes it work. Although of course, like if you have it physical, that's also really cool too.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember when because like at this time like I only like really read novels like online and stuff like that. And when I think it was one of the podcasts like over like at the apartments, and I was actually doing the podcast in Anaya's room. And I just kind of grabbed one of his manga. It was One Piece, and I just like opened it, or was it maybe even My Hero? I opened it up and I just realized like there's like a level of detail that you don't really get to see like online versus just seeing it like on hand. Just like I guess the drawing of it, the
Yeah, just a flat out
lines,
drawing.
it just looks different. It looks cooler that way to have it like just physically on hand. So I definitely recommend that if you have the option to do so. Although I will say that like it is convenient just to have like a mobile device just for that. I guess that's why the Kindle was like, well, yeah, or that series of just having like books on the go was always a nice thing.
Pretty much. It's like having the Kindle for the ebooks and everything.
Yeah, back when that
I
was
still,
starting to like rise up in popularity, but it's like yeah, no, like there's a reason. There's a
and of
very
course
good
now
reason.
there's also that cool product I showed you guys, which is like legitimately the book where it's like every single volume of a manga in one book. It's an electronic
Oh,
book. I was like that. If you have no room and you want to collect manga, that is a dream right there.
that is cool because like doesn't it have like much more like it has more of a book aesthetic to it,
Yeah,
but it's also just kind of like a digital thing too. So that's really
yep.
interesting.
All the mangas are on SD cards,
That's actually really cool too.
so you can either just get multiple, so you can just have the different books, or you can just get one and just keep it there. That's more Thunder. Or you can just get or you can just get multiple books, and that way you have every of the series with their unique covers, or you can just get the one book and just different SD cards.
Is it what should we call it? Is it formatted specifically for that device, or is it something where it's like if you have some other like method of using it, then you can use it that way? Like maybe even just
I'm
like
not
slot it
sure.
to your PC or something like that.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up.
Oh, actually, you know what? I need to bring this up because this is one of those sleeper hit like anime that has like a similar like comedic effect as Konosuba. Um, this is gonna sound like so like coming out of South for me to say it, but it's the anime called Princess Connect, like Redive. It's been announced for a second season, and I say this because season one was actually very hilarious.
You enjoyed season one?
It was actually really good. Like it's a mix of like I mean aside from like your male protagonist, and like he's kind of like more silent in the first like season until the very end. It has Sakuga stuff, sure. It has like the whole cute girls doing cute things type of bit, but it's also like wholesome and very funny when it wants to be. So I definitely recommend it. It's just really interesting because it's based off of like the game that was made by Games, and Games has made a couple of like different works here and there, but they also have like an animation studio, it seems. So maybe they hired other like talents out there, but like it's actually like season one was really good animation wise too. I kind of want to like rewatch it again. Same as I did with
Do it.
Konosuba.
Do
So
it.
yeah, if you haven't checked out season one, and this is for everyone, what was it? I just literally said like Princess Dive something. You'll find it. But yeah, I definitely like recommend like watching season 1 at the very least. I remember like they do a good job at like kind of self-referencing things like from previous episodes. Like one of the episodes was like literally male protagonist just is like a generally nice guy and just helps this one girl out by just simply picking something up and just giving her a smile. Little did he know that she is a little bit obsessive about him later on, and finds himself incapacitated in the quote unquote hospital that she attends. So in the middle of the night, as he's like sweating bullets, he opens his eyes to see a reflection of himself in her pupils.
He's like,
they do great sound like effects here, because you just hear the sound of a heartbeat, and then like the sound of strings like rising up.
So you see the sound of streams just rising up.
No, like you like actual strings, like playing it like really high notes.
Ding, 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 ding.
No, like it's kind of like one note. That's like
Ding.
Yeah, something like that. Or like. But later on, like in a couple episodes later, like the dude's like enjoying this admittedly really good looking sandwich, and he turns his eyes and he sees the same girl like in slow motion. And you just hear like the bass just like build, and like he darts away. So
just darts away.
It's funny. It's really good. He also has like an attendant who kind of acts as like his main guide for the most part, being like the person who talks because he's kind of like silent for the most part. But our poor dude like finds himself in a lot of situations where he could have gotten killed. And I guess the whole gimmick is that whenever she sees that kind of thing, she witnesses it, and then she gets animated to a point where like her eyes are completely like doled out of depth. Like they take her like mouth and like replace it with like a little tiny X button. So it's one of those. It's great. They carry it out, but the wholesome part is definitely one of the characters who is supposed to like be an assassin, but gets way too close to the group to the point where like she's kind of like she's kind of tied up in whether she should oblige and trying to like do her mission or completely just like abstain from that and just kind of stick with the group. They have like they have a focus on making like a food type of guild, and they just go around and make different stuff based on the places that they go to. So that's kind of the premise. I know that the whole thing is that like you're supposed to defeat the ultimate evil, but it's definitely a lot like lukewarm about that. It's more about like what's happening like then and now. So it's like
sounds like Konosuba.
Yeah, it sounds like Konosuba for a bit, except it's not like it's not critical and to a point that's funny about what they're doing. It's just kind of like, oh, it's happening by chance. But yeah, it's great. I'll probably rewatch it.
I recently finished Nagatoro. That was great.
I think I know what the ending is like. I know that like it continues on, right? There's still like a lot more like works. I only know that because like I just see like bits where our main dude no longer has glasses, so I'm assuming he's got contacts, so it's just kind of like
the visuals on.
Yeah. And then there's more like female characters who like kind of tease him, and of course Nagatoro becomes slightly more jealous as like that keeps happening.
Yeah, but no one he doesn't really have feelings for anyone else besides Nagatoro. But still, like what started at the first episode of Nagatoro, it's like, God, this is a little harsh. But then after you keep watching it, it's like, okay, this is getting really cute and wholesome, and then it's also funny.
Yeah, if anyone's like very curious about Nagatoro, but feels like it was too extreme because that was definitely the highlight when the first episode came out. It is like that, but then after a couple episodes, like the dynamic changes because the characters themselves kind of like get like an essence of like what the other person is like. Mainly Nagatoro just understanding that there's a limit that she needs to like keep under, because otherwise, like, he starts crying and it's just not really good.
Then she feels bad.
Feels really bad. I want to share something like real quick, but I've been getting some weird recommendations on YouTube as far as like, well, specifically like outtakes and bloopers from the Phoenix Wright anime. Actually,
There's outtakes and bloopers from it.
yeah. So I guess it's maybe like a Blu-ray type of bit where you get to see that kind of stuff, where you see like the numbers, like when it comes to like the record time and everything like that, and the characters are just trying to like voice out their lines, and it will usually be like someone who messes up or says something like out of like script that like causes
Way out
like
of
humor.
script.
There's
It's
a rather
usually very
disturbing
vulgar,
one,
too.
but also kind of funny too.
They're usually
It's
very vulgar.
yeah, it's usually vulgar. That's so. I mean, not so to not be around the bush. It's about this girl who's like saying here and there about like how I thought like I guess the defendant or the person in question is like, oh, he didn't die. Like I felt like a pitter patter like pop out my chest, and then the judge is over here is like, I want a pitter patter all over your. And I'm like, oh no, you didn't. And then the girl like actress is like, what the. No, why? Why? I was like, bro.
Bro.
Judge, why would you? Those. Oh no. Oh no.
Bruh.
Judge, why?
I object.
I'll see if I can like share it to you, because at this point you ought to see it. Everyone else though, protect yourselves. Hold on. Outtakes, please. It's definitely here. It's, oh my god, dude, I can't believe I saw that.
This is some wild stuff on some outtakes.
This is true. Oh man. I guess I'll have to look very specifically. But Mark, any games that you're currently going through right now?
Hades.
Oh yes, Hades. Oh my god, that like I want to say that like if we're talking sheerly from like the gameplay perspective, in which like the goal is to like make it to the end of the game, it's a rather
One
short
run.
like journey. But if you stick to the actual like story of it, which you're kind of going through it like a couple rounds, it's actually very well in depth, and I think there's just so many good things about it: the music, the voice acting, just the art. The gameplay is just solid. Period. It's just really good.
I would say what's most impressive is just the fact that I've never heard an NPC actually re-utter the same line.
It's true. It feels like
They've always got something new to say.
they got something always new to say, so you're always kind of anticipating it too. So you actually want to engage with them a little bit more. So that's a really
He's
cool
got to
thing.
repeat a line. He's got to repeat a line, right? It says a different line. What the fuck?
I think Skelly kind of like repeats the same things like just upon like interaction, because that's just how he is. Until like you decide to do something else.
He just
For
words
sure.
it differently.
Meanwhile, I'm still looking. It's one of those things where it's like I don't think I really want to know anymore, but at this point,
Must have just been that Apex just hanging out.
Apex just hanging out.
Apex just hanging out.
Ah, okay. No such thing as a coincidence, right?
No such thing as a coincidence.
Have you seen? I mean, maybe not, but because it's recent. But the dude did a cosplay of Seer, and a bunch of other people were involved. Someone gave him like the costume for it. Someone like made it like some kind of like audio mix for him, and it's pretty great.
That's I haven't seen it. I'll have to look it up though.
Yeah, it's relatively new, so yeah, for sure. Damn, I can't find it. Maybe it's best you shouldn't see it.
Maybe it's best you keep your eyes clean.
Stay
Your eyes
innocent.
and ears. Protect your innocence.
Protect your innocence.
Man, that rain is really coming down out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll just hold off on that one. Yeah. I was saying though, like, I think I finished both Oris within the same week, technically speaking, because I have here on my notes that Ori and the Blind Forest I finished like on Sunday, and on the 12th I finished Will of the Wisp. I will say it's a fantastic, both of them fantastic.
Oh,
So I'm so happy that I finally jumped in on that one, because otherwise I never really had much of an opinion about like the Ori series, period, because I never got to see anything beyond word of mouth stuff. So, which was not really much. Unfortunately, it was one of those games that I guess aside from like whenever like, Xbox decides to say something, like Ori gets like somewhere in the conversation too, as far as like backwards compatibility or even the performance thing during the series just updates about it. Um but otherwise, like, it was one of those games that just kind of like released and just kind of went silent for me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the algorithm just deemed it as like, oh, he's not really interested in like this, so we'll just kind of like keep it like tucked under. But it's crazy. I didn't know that like the first Ori had, well, the definitive edition has like this crazy like one, what was it, like a one round like adventure of just make sure you don't die. They omit that in Will of the Wisp, but they have similar achievements regardless. So it's just really cool. I really love the platforming in the game. That's kind of like been the main draw. Although the additional combat mechanics that they introduced in Will of the Wisp is also like really welcoming too. That's just a little layer of like depth to it that you didn't even see in the original. It was really cool. I didn't have problems with the combat though, except for the bosses. Jesus, dude.
oh yeah, and two, they're a lot harder.
Like, well, there wasn't really many like boss like encounters. They were more escape situations, which those were
The
pretty
last
tough.
fight. That last fight was a boss fight.
That last fight was the boss fight. That was really intense, but it was so cool too, because like when you realize that it's like, oh shit, like I'm losing all ground and I actually have to keep this as an aerial battle. I was like, yo, this is dope. It's really hard as fuck though, but it's really
Oh, it
cool
was very, very hard.
because I had an issue with like the bird like flying out of screen and then like zooming in, because I was like, how do I do this when I feel like I don't have like the right like projectiles coming my way so I could actually bash into them. Seems like I always feel like there's a dead zone that I'm always in.
Gotta anticipate it.
Yeah. So after I learned the pattern, I was like, okay, I need to just make sure that everything lines up, and I just like bash consecutively to get out of there fast enough. And it felt so good when I just like popped right in front and like lashed out like the trifecta arrow thing. And then when the cutscene just started, it closed off. I was back in the main screen. I was like, oh no.
Whoa.
I still got like the achievements for like clearing the game. It's just that I guess the game just like crashed.
Justin goes to look up the ending of Ori on YouTube.
It's pretty much like exactly where I left off. Like as I beat the game, it goes to a close up of the bird, and then it closes off. And so I found the exact point like pretty easily just on YouTube. I was like, okay, I can watch this and find out what
Yeah.
happened in the end.
After you see what happened when you had to like zoom in on Shriek.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. So
You feel so bad for Shriek. You feel so you're like fuck you, Shriek. But also, I'm sorry.
I think they did that on purpose, right? Because like Shriek is like completely not understood. It's just seen as like some
A monster.
creature really, because it doesn't look like Kuro at all. because it has like additional appendages almost. And
It's almost like an undead owl.
yeah, and I think I looked into like some like chatter about that, and I think it's just mainly because the decay kind of like played a part in that, but it wasn't like all consuming. It's just that it kind of made Shriek a little bit more deformed and different looking because literally everyone else just kind of died like in that little valley, silent forest, in a weird state.
Yeah, all the other owls.
Yeah, with all the other owls, it's not like they like withered away or just died like naturally. Something just happened to them oddly, and I think that just kind of played a part in just like how Shriek ended up looking. Aside from just simply just making Shriek look like an antagonist.
I felt
Um,
so bad when you saw her crawl back in there with her parents. I was like, oh
it sucks, bro. Like it's one of those
no.
things where like I think when you learn about the story for Shriek, you've kind of become a little bit more neutral about like what she's been doing. But like part of you is like, well, she did hurt like Ku, so I'm like, all right, we'll just carry on with things. And once you revive and create like Sarah goes crazy, and you're and you're like, oh shit. But always like, no, 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 hold on. Don't go all out.
Calm down, calm down.
So then when Shriek gets like the sneak attack and like incapacitates Seer, it's just like her and like Ori, and Ori like beats her head in. And then so at that point it's like, well shit, do I like I feel like I'm gonna die. And pretty much feels like that was kind of like Ori like put like one extra punch in, like that's hard enough to like put you on like a timer. Like, all right, you're gonna die soon. What are you gonna do with that? So
Right.
Shriek had no other choice but to return back to where her parents were because that was the only closure that she could get. And it just sucks that like when Ori reached out, like initially she just rejected it so
She
easily.
couldn't, she couldn't accept it.
Yeah. And it plays that level of narrative that makes you wonder like if she was a little bit more open, like could she have been saved in a way? And I'm pretty sure she would have, but I think what ultimately carries on is just simply like I guess the conviction to want to like have an iron like foot like on things that Shriek did not want to reach out when that was offered to her. So
I guess Shriek had tried to get love before, and she had been betrayed again. So she was very worried. I think Shriek was just traumatized.
yeah, it's unfortunate because I think what was it? I feel like that was kind of the same case when it came to like um Naru actually and like her dad because it was really the same thing. Like when you go into the DLC or the definitive edition, you go into the hidden like clove or cove, and they show you the flashbacks of how like Naru had like been engaging with the spirits for like a while, but her dad's like, no, stop that.
But don't do that.
What was interesting about that was that Naru like kept open minded, and like when the father passed away, like she left the cove and found like a home like close to the surface, and still like raised spirits at that point.
It's
So
true. She did raise Ori.
yeah, so it's weird because like Naru in that case and Shriek have like similar upbringings, except for the fact that like I guess one had like a parent that acted as the restraint, whereas like other like owl parents for Shriek acted as a restraint. But I guess maybe it wasn't like feeling like so like ostracized like Shriek did, that Naru came out okay, Shriek didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's rough. It's one of those endings where it's like I wish something like even more could have like been done for this character or that character, but it ultimately just ended the way it did. I'm pretty sure like if you were able to just like kind of check in with everyone post all the events, they would all say like Shriek, we found Shriek and she passed away like cradled like in their parents. and they'll probably say like, Shriek never really showed, like, for as much as I've known, like, this creature, like, never really shown any signs of like empathy or anything like that. So it's interesting to see her in this state, like having lost everything and losing all the power that she kept. So it'd be like, it's sad, but it is what it is.
Correct. And then as you saw, Ori became the new spirit tree for that area.
Yeah. And I was like, man, what a growth. I felt bad though, because it was really just like a not really abandoning it, but just simply just taking another turn like that you could never really turn back on. Because like, when the ending of the first game, it was like, all right, well, Spirit Tree's back. So yeah, so they spent like a fair number of years just kind of like hanging out and raising like Ku. But now this is just like a dramatic change. But I'm glad that despite that, like Ku, Naru, and what was it, Gumbo or Gumo, um, just stayed there and still felt like very
Stayed there
much
by his
so
side.
that dynamic still.
Yeah, so became a very nice, healthy owl, and hopefully she had some babies.
Wait, did she?
I said hopefully.
Hopefully, right? It's like, I don't know. I don't know there's that many owls at all, actually. Feels like there was a lot less, but she did grow up to be like a big owl.
Ooh, cool.
And we didn't really get to see Gumo like all the way as far as like him like growing up, but you pretty much like assume like what happened to Naru was the same for him. But damn, dude,
Each.
that was kind of sad, but under different circumstances, like Naru was able to like rest like on her own terms. So I like that. And then Ori's like, "Oh, surprise! I've been narrating everything." Well, the second game. I think, yeah, Ori narrates the second game. The first one was really the old spirit tree, or at least the spirit tree over there versus
Yeah, because Ori became
Yeah.
the spirit tree of this area.
Mm-hmm. And the cycle just begins anew. So that's really nice.
So they could do if they don't have to continue. If they ever wanted to, they could do a spin-off as Ori's son, or they could do just a side story.
That's true. Because I think when you think about like a sequel to this series, I think it's kind of easy to do that because the first game just kind of like introduced you to a world where like the spirit trees are things that kind of give life and balance. And then the second game's like, oh, there's more. There's supposed to be more spirit trees out there, and this one's without one, so you gotta help it out. So I'm assuming that there's plenty more that might be in that type of state of decay, or whatever else that, because I think the decay is more prominent in like that region versus like Ori's like original like region where that was just kind of like it probably was decay. They just never like outlined it as such. It was interesting. But
It's because like they flew with Ku they flew a little too far and entered a whole new region and they saw like, oh shit, this place is not in good shape.
I think it was weird because I think for the most part they just wanted to get out. But I think maybe Ori's like obligations, but also because of the fact that like Ku has been like a consequence of just like how things are, that like she felt like she got to do something.
She was very sad because she couldn't fly without a submissive because her feathers wouldn't work.
That was interesting. I didn't think that they would give her like a handicap like that. And it only took like Ori to sacrifice that she got her wing back, like a full wing.
Yeah, he healed her.
Interesting enough, yeah. It was interesting.
That
But
fight with Shriek, I still remember that. That took a bunch of tries.
which one? Just like
The ending fight with Shriek.
oh yeah, that was real rough. I'm gonna be honest, I felt like
not to fall.
Yeah. Yeah, I had some issues with the falling sequence. I just like I kind of just kept fumbling around with Shriek's actual Shriek attack. knowing that I need to like get out of that because like obviously the instinct is to go up and like hit her with the mallet.
Bonk.
I love that. I love that weapon. I
You
had
love the bonk.
I love I love the bonk, but I don't know, like I ended up like switching between sword and like hammer in the latter, but like in the beginning it was definitely like, oh, I get a hammer? Okay, I'll just start using this.
You're
And I think the hammer did like a really good job with range, and you know, the fact that it staggers a lot was a good thing. I think
also
that's
you
why
also
I
were
think
you
that's
also
why I choose
terrified
it.
when the toad attacked you?
Yeah.
That was a terrifying scene.
Hmm. You know what? I want to give like a shout out to actually Howl, actually the wolf that like comes in and attacks you, because you don't really have like maneuverability yet. You can only like run like left and right, and you have to time like your attacks so you have time to run back and jump if you need to. And I remember that took me a couple tries to like really get, because I just kept dying and I just kept mashing as much as I could.
As we go to find our bear friend.
I love the bear friend. He was
He's so
so
pretty.
he was so chill. He was like, sleep.
I was like, "Ugh." It's winter time for hibernation.
It's hibernation.
They had that. They had that. And I mean, like, and you saw, like, of course, with the area of the winds and the water, like, especially the water.
Oh yeah, the water.
When the
Those
water just rushes out, you're like, Jesus Christ!
when the water like starts like leaking out, you're like, oh, I've seen this before. And you start running.
Dude, it took me a couple tries to escape that because I just kept hitting one point.
I remember that like the hardest thing for me was at a certain point, like you have to go in between like two little pillars, and I remember getting caught like twice in that.
You didn't have any issues with the boulder at the end.
The boulder. I'm gonna say not really much issue with the boulder in that case. Um, because at that point it was like I've already went through like the final like escape from the first game, and that was kind of like a real big pain in the booty. So I think I gotten like very used to like how things are set up to kind of understand like what to do here and there. Like even like the whole escape from like the sand creature. Like
God, the escape from the sandworm.
there was a lot of instances where I knew that like I should have gotten God, but like the game was just kind of okay with me just passing. But I
The
think I
escape
just
from the sandworm was fucking crazy.
I think I was just so used to how they like lay out their level design that I was like, okay, so I see this and I immediately know like where I should be going with that. But I know that like my own like controls of like simply like dashing out of the sand can be a little bit like hit or miss. So that was my only issue with that. So I only died like a few times on that one. And then
It's a fun little technique to dashing through the sand.
yeah. It's unfortunate that you get the what do they call it in the second game? But it's your last like maneuverability where you actually are able to like just dash in different directions. Um I love that a lot, but then I found out that if you dash diagonally into like the ground, you carry that momentum like even farther for yourself. So it'd be a great like running strat, but like it's at the end of the game, so at that point you can't use it.
New game plus.
I mean, like if there's new game plus, then you're it. Oh,
You're
you got beat under 4 hours. You're it. I got it.
boop
And
boop 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 boop.
I would like to give like a speed run of like both games a try, but I'll be working on the backlog in the meantime.
Backlog is getting smaller.
It's getting smaller. We're playing through Azure Striker Gunvolt like on stream, and so while I do that, I could probably just take care of like Kirby Star Allies. That's a pretty easy one. Just kind of like enjoy like that, like off cam, and other things. Certainly other things.
Are we getting close to not being in the 20s anymore?
Yeah, we're definitely close now. So I'll be able to focus on like maybe one game at a time at that point. So it'll be great.
So you went from 28 to now I think we're like, what, 22, 21?
Yeah, something like that. It doesn't feel like much anymore. But I just have to like play whenever I need to. And that's the whole like fill thing. So we'll see. I should probably like well actually we also have the D&D thing happening tonight as well, so perhaps I
Yeah,
won't be
it's
able
7.
to. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to unless I can like literally just like camp out over there. Not camp, but you know what I mean.
I mean, you could play before 4 year time.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to like visit Phil's place to see like the new setup, but also because like I haven't hung out with him in such a long time, so it's like, come on, bruh.
Gonna go kick his door in.
Find out different access points for entering the abode.
Chew just put his speaker up to his door. FBI, open up!
Just get the ye old radio out, stand on top of my car, play it. I want to know. Well, look, wait, baby, come back.
No. It's just. Why you acting so?
Oh my god, I rediscovered the old Nicki Minaj song, Roman Holiday.
Oh god.
It's an absolute trip.
Like,
But
have you ever heard that song though? My friend showed me this shit. It's just like, bitch, why you acting sus? Why you acting sus? Why you sound like an imposter?
It was so bizarre, like in the beginning, but then it kicks in, and you're like, "Oh, I get it now." Under. Look who I am. Who the fuck is this whore? I was like, ah, shit.
You're like, well,
oh my god.
sounds like Nikki.
And then she goes into like the main thing where it's just like, take a vacation, Roman. And I was like, whoa, what the hell, dude?
Take a vacation, Roman.
There's a Roman holiday.
Roman holiday.
Then you're like, the fuck, Nikki? It's so funny though, like
Just doing her thing, man.
and the only reason I was able to rediscover the song was because someone like added that to that backflip video that I shared to you guys about like the dude like catching this dude doing backflips like downward slope on sand, and someone apparently took a footage of that showing like the perspective of someone like looking at the cameraman capturing this footage. I was like, yo, this is legendary to see like the cameraman in action capturing the moment.
Gotta get those shots.
But it was really fun when someone like put in that song in there. Oh, the dime hunger. Look at it. The fuck is this whore? Yeah, you should add that to a soundboard.
Absolutely.
Oh my god, dude. So funny. When Nikki over here, it's like, well, that was the thing. I haven't really quite grown out of it, but that was the thing.
That was a native thing.
That was the thing. But as we're getting close to the ending point, I just want to give a shout out though, because who is that content creator who does streams on Twitch, posts it on YouTube? What was it? I think his name is like DGB or something like that. The one who's like who gives out like those titles of like something plays this for the first time. Like, consistently. Yeah, that guy. Y'all know him. I just recently like discovered like his Zero Mission like playthrough of it, and I was like, oh, this is so cool to see someone's actual first take on this. Because Zero Mission was interesting because it had to play so close to the old formula. Like your power beam didn't like shoot as far. Like the layout of the level was very simplistic, but to see someone like try to like connect the dots of like I can't get here because I can't do anything with this obstacle, and then they get the power up and then they realize I can do that now. Okay, let's do it. And I was like, yeah, that's them like first diving into the Metroidvania. And I was like, wow, this is so crazy to actually like take a look at, but it's such a breath of fresh air to see someone else have a take on it, and it revitalized the love and anticipation of Metroid Dread, which be coming out soon, but not quite.
Soon.
Yeah. All right. I think it's time to wrap up. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Mark?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. In that case, we'll go ahead and end it here. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been episode 373 of DangIT Prodcast. My name is Justin.
Mark.
See you guys in the next one. #bye, everyone.
Yeah.